Morning folks. Well, the tree guys have gone and now the cleanup starts, which is a huge job, though I'm not complaining about having the trees removed, but I think you'll see there is still a lot of work. But I'm up in what is to be the pollinator patch. I've removed a lot of the weeds, but there's still a heap to go. A fair bit of cleanup to do. This corner I'm not sure, I think I might keep a mess for the moment, as the borage is all here, but right beside it there is a huge patch of sweet peas, and underneath the sweet peas there are a huge amount of weeds and grasses, but to be honest I'd rather keep those until the sweet peas are done. So I might just leave things in this corner the way they are. But as you see here, I've removed a lot of weeds and cut a lot back. There's a lot of grasses, weeds, but I'll just make my way slowly through what I can. The planters will be replaced, but oh dear me, a lot of work. This one again, masses of weeds and grasses, etc., but I'll work my way through. And just to touch on briefly on politics, which in this ghastly world we're in we prefer not to, but my husband and I have chosen not to be vaccinated. Our bodies, our choice, but we have a dictator premier in the state, and he has decreed that any unvaccinated, no matter why or reason, that we are now locked out of any shops. We cannot go buy shoes, we can't buy books. I'm assuming we can still go into a supermarket, but anything that's so-called non-essential, things like shoes, books, most of the retail shops you're not allowed in without showing a vax certificate. So, and my point of all that is, I filled the compost bales, but I don't have any compost here, so I'm going to have to buy some, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to go into one of the big box stores like Bunnings and grab a few bags of compost, but I'm not sure how that's placed. It may be click and collect, but welcome to the dystopian world. Never ever would I have believed that Australia would have turned into a country like it is. We are seriously thinking of selling and returning to the UK, even though I know that's not in a great shape, but never ever would we have believed that Australia would have turned like this, and the Prime Minister is doing nothing about it. There are masses of teachers, health workers, yes, those are the people that were revered a year ago, are protesting and losing their jobs because they do not want to be mandated for vaccinations, and they are getting abused on the street. That's the way this world has gone. Dreadful. Anyway, sorry folks, but that's the end of the politics, but I just thought I'd explain that what's ahead of us. Anyway, I'll keep going. As I said, here's the edge. Oh, also this pollinator bed is under insurance, so all the fence and the gate, etc., will be being replaced. But I'm just going to step over this smashed wire and continue. Now I'm just on the other side of the pollinator bed, and of course this is where that huge tree had fallen. That has been cut up. There was also a little bed here that had been squashed, but again a lot to clear up. But you can see some of the gladiolus that I had planted and are fighting their way through. There's some alstroemeria in here, some liliums, Again, I'll clean it up and see what survives. I think the Alstramira should, and the Gladdies are obviously shooting up, so that will be good. But here we are at the back of the pollinator patch. You can see the post, all this is to be redone, the wiring, etc. Okay, now we're just walking along. This is where all the guys cleaned up. Okay, just walking up. I'm not sure, I'm not sure if I halted the video by mistake a couple of seconds ago. Anyway, we'll see what comes up. But that's the pile of firewood. This is the chip. Now what they've done, they have actually defined pathways, and you see logs that they have cut, they have put along the defined pathways, which is actually great, very rustic, but they do that in national parks as well. But see here that what they've done is take away the timber. They've propped up the large stumps back in the ground, and I can do some plantings. You put some creepers over them. We will have to buy some grasses, etc., plants, and restore the area. But up here very much the bush block, which I have no problem with. But one good thing is that before this you had no idea where to walk, but now because of the machinery going through, they have put tracks through the place, which makes life a lot easier. Here's a big pile of mulch that they have chipped up, which will obviously be used. Another small pile of very good timber for firewood, and as you see, you go along here, you get these are the native grasses that were already here, and we go up along here, one of the bird boxes. You probably don't make much sense of all this, but one of the machinery guy, if you can see, put a track through here, which is great because now we actually have access. This is right at the back corner of the property. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that was the neighbour's tree that fell and took out our trees, and there was piles and piles of trees here? Well, these are the stumps which the guy with the machinery has uprighted, put back into the ground. Again, they will be used for, well, the wildlife, and we'll put creepers. We'll put some native grasses, plants in this area. I just need to be careful here because we're going down a slope now, but you can see over here, all here are the neighbours, the trees on the neighbour's side, and that was a fence line. But when it rains, this will all settle and go back into the ground. I'm just panning round, but you can see all the huge stumps that have been, they were all on the ground, and the excavator guy, John, he has done a really good job of propping them all back up. And again, if I can sit, you can see here a fence post, and the fence goes down, and behind it all the devastation on the neighbour's side. It's devastation here too, but now we at least have ground that we can replant. I will go and source some tube stock, which are the tiny plants, but the tube stock is better than putting in the larger mature plants for natives. But as you see, this stump, where am I? This stump here is actually, oh, it's way taller than I am, and this one too would probably be my height. But as again, it will be quite good for natives, and as I said, we'll put some creepers over them. This is where they've put a pathway, defined a pathway here, some chip, another big stump, and you can see the pathway goes down and around. They've left this very tall stump, but that's fine. If I can see, this is probably very boring, but I thought I'd just run through what has been done. Again, all this is the neighbours. Sorry, the sun's out, but here is the fence line, and the poor neighbour has a huge job, but a good 6 loads of fire trucks where fire was taken off. Most people would have said we should have kept it, as it was very valuable. There's the fence line going down, if you can see or not, and that takes us down to the entry, as the timber actually is very valuable, but frankly we didn't want to live with the mess. I just couldn't cope with it, and also you'd had to get people in to not only, well, these guys would have chopped it, but then we would have had to figure out how to get it chopped up into firewood. Here you can see the fence line with the destruction behind, which are all into the neighbours. So again, if you can see, we're running down by the fence line. Again, fence post, fence line, all the destruction next door. You can see where they've chipped branches, etc. here. Oops, I'm going into the sun. Now this is where the I don't know, explain. We had an insurance claim which would have which covered all the trees that impacted the fence. They took that away, but there was this huge tree, this is part of it, which was blocking all this path. You can see the other side of it, but there was a scheme, the bushfire recovery, and you could ask them to come out and if they would take anything that they could do. So they chose that they could take this tree. I'll show you the other side. That was the one that crossed the arch. But they wouldn't come and do their job until the insurance arborists had gone. Politics, I don't know, or maybe to be honest, I think it was more that having 2 crews around up and down. But see, that's the other part of the fallen tree. But they bushfire recovery said they would come after our guys had left and do their job and take this tree out. And this is all the debris left from that tree falling, all the branches, etc. So they will take that. That's a huge stump. And I'll just briefly go down here. This goes back down to the front gate, but the land to the left has all been designated land for wildlife. See, there was a huge tree had come over here, but these guys had took it out, and this is the stump. We call it a stump. It's a portion of tree that when they cut the tree logs off, John propped that up into the ground, back into the ground, and again things can be planted there. And you walk down here and down the track to the front gate. As you see, there's the house up the top. But what a job. And this huge tree that you can see over here will just be left for wildlife. It'll be a wildlife bridge. In here, massive trees went down in the storm. There's the stump of one, but again, because they fell into the gully, they will be left as wildlife corridor. So we don't mind that we're quite happy with that, and a lot of it will rot back, and the wildlife, we're probably happy to have that habitat. And as I said, the timber will fall into the gully. Anyway, now I'll just try and get up to here. So this is the side of the tree that the bushfire recovery's taken, and I'm just walking through here. It's near the medium pond, and oops, this was an old stump that was already here, but I had some agapanthus which I've put around the base, and so we come up here, and you can see this is where we've just walked down and around, and here's the tree that the bushfire recovery will take. I think at one stage they got a bit sulky because the guys had already started cutting, and as we said, well, how are they supposed to get their machinery in to do their work? They needed access, and the bushfire recovery should have been here first. As it is, they will probably make a mess that we have tidied up a bit, and the ground's like chipping, but here's the big tree stump, which I'm not sure what they do. I wish the guy here he did a great job of putting them back, but they said they would remove it. There's also a standing tree that dangerous that they have to take. This was their little pink marker that they marked the tree that they would take. But as you see, this is the archway going back to the house. This was all dented, so we've taken the majority of it away, the arch, and to allow the ferns, the tree ferns, to actually grow now. They were being squashed, but this way they will, I think, at some stage meet together and make an archway. You can't see in this light, but this is a laburnum which is over the arch. I don't know if you can see a little bit of the gold flower coming through. Tree ferns, and this is the laburnum that I showed in another clip briefly. And as I said, coming back up to the house, the greenhouse is supposed to, so the sun's directly in my face, but you can see the laburnum and the rhododendrons. I'm just walking back now. This is the small pond. Back to the house. Here's one of my foxgloves that I planted. And you come back around here, all these planters, they're all damaged or being replaced. It's going to be a bit of a messy job as well, but I'm sure then these are the excuse me, these were the roses that I chopped down. The tree came through this gap. You can see the post and wire, so we unfortunately had to take out the short run of box, and I put some Hebe in there to replace them and the old roses. But then I think here the other morning, you won't probably see, but you'll see a sort of gap and a bit of a rough edge to the box. I think a critter went through and had a little feed on the small centre rose that was growing back. But here we go, we come back. These are the steps to the pollinator patch, and let me see if you can just see, this is where I started, but this is where, that's the smashed gate in there. And that should be done, and then we swing round and come back down the side where the grapevines are. And you see the roses at the end of the rows. So and that's Bluey's front door, but he's not here at the moment. And while I'm out, I just thought I'd come up this side. That's the large kumquat tree, and the Buddleia globosa starting to fruit up. And along here, you can't see in the slide, but I'm not sure. I think these are either crab apples or apples, but I have a feeling they'll be crab apples, but they're all in fruit now. You can see all in here. And this is the rose and herb bed that I planted. And the lavender, again, morning sun is hitting everything, but the critters come through the night and in the morning and chomp on things, but we'll just have to see what survives and what doesn't. I don't think that the lavender's safe, but the roses and the herbs get chomped on, but we'll just see. Let me just come back up. You say you've seen these all before. This is all the citrus, lemons. The pear trees, the lavender that I've just recently planted. I put some aloe vera, I moved them up here, looking a bit sad and sorry, but they'll come good. And there's some stone fruit here. Can you see? Yes, here they are. Again, I'm not actually sure, excuse my ignorance, but they'll probably be eaten before I realise what they are. I'm assuming they're stone fruit of some sort, but they're just too young at the moment for me to identify them. I'm sure someone out there will know. But we won't see many of them, the birds will get in. And here's the big water tanks. We had a issue with the water tanks literally not collecting the water. We fixed the guttering because these two tanks gather the water from the wood sheds which you see up behind there. We fixed the guttering behind them, but the water still wasn't coming in, and to be honest, we've had enough rain to fill the whole 5 tanks 3-4 times over, but these now are literally empty. Of course, we know nothing about them, but we finally figured out that there was a blockage, so we had that cleared and redid the pipes. And it did rain for a little bit and they're going in, but we're going to need a lot more rain to fill these two. I think it's around 23,000 litres each tank, and I will desperately need those filled because they run the garden and the grapevines, etc., the irrigation system from near the house. But this is the orchard again. Not sure what these trees are. They have blossoms, but I don't see any fruit on them yet. I don't know if they're apple trees. I'm hopeless, don't know. These are certainly stone fruit, but to be honest, you can see here, if I can see them, you can actually see, but I can't walk down. The slope is too steep for me. I'm not risking it after breaking my ankle in the previous property. These are the kiwi fruit that I trimmed, and they're coming back very healthy, so I'm delighted with that. So, and just to complete the walk, we come up by the orchard. I mean, in all honesty, how on earth do people expect to go down there in that steep incline? I don't know. Anyway, and now we're coming up to the top end of the grapevines, and I did plant, sorry the sun's in the way, I did plant a couple of this is the rugosa Blanc de Coubert, but the critters have eaten it. There's still green leaves, so hopefully they'll recover. But you just got to grit your teeth and hope that things will survive after the critters have pruned them. As you can see, the grass is very, very long, but with all the work that was going on, we have to take one step at a time. I'm trying to look because there was oh yes, here's one. You can see here that the vine is actually coming into fruit, if you can see. Again, we won't see any of the birds, will have them. But sorry, this is probably boring the pants off everybody. But I just thought I'd do a run after the trees and the pollinator patches down here behind the grapevines. So there you have it. And so I'll say bye-bye for now, and hope you're not too bored. But anyway, we've survived one stage, now we move into the next stage and go and find some tube stock to fill up in where all the trees have come down. So off I go, bye bye for now.